Sorry that took a minute. I was actually planning to run out, but they grabbed me at the door. Kidding. I want to share two stories with you all. Two lives shaped by addiction in our criminal justice system. The first story involves a young man who got high and drunk one night, loses his wallet and keys, and is simply trying to find his way home. He walks to a nearby gas station, and he asks the clerk if he'd call him a cab. The clerk was kind and agreed. But when the cab driver arrived, he refused to take the young man, citing his levels of intoxication. Furious, he storms back into the gas station and begins angrily pushing over display racks. The clerk calls 911, and the young man is arrested shortly after. The first time I called him to explain the Neighborhood Restorative Partnership, or NRP program, his response was, "What the is the DA's office going to do for me? I'm a criminal." To say he was resistant is an understatement, but we kept the lines of communication open, and after several more conversations and him cussing me out, he agreed to participate. On the night of his panel, he didn't show up. I called him back the next day, upset but honest, and said, "If you're not serious, stop wasting your time and mine. I'll refer your case back to the filing team, and you can explain your ridiculous actions to a judge." He responded by saying, "I'm sorry. I was high. Can I get another chance?" That moment changed everything. I thanked him for trusting me enough to be honest, and I rescheduled his panel. This time, he showed up, he participated, and within our 6-month window, he successfully completed his program. That was in 2022. Since then, he's moved in with his girlfriend, adopted 2 dogs, and has held a steady job. He checks in from time to time. He's doing well. But here's what no one knew the day he walked into his panel. The night that he fell apart was him breaking under pressure. This young man had been quietly serving as the full-time caregiver for his mother, who suffers from an incurable nerve disease. He was isolated, exhausted, overwhelmed, and he felt like he had nowhere to turn. His actions were not excusable, but they were understandable. What seemed on the surface like just another young man making poor choices was really a person at their breaking point. Someone who needed help, but did not know how to ask for it. Had this young man gone through the traditional justice system, he would have likely ended up on court probation until he failed again. In California, the cost of incarcerating one individual has increased by 90% in the last decade. It has reached record highs of over $130,000 annually. That brings me to the traditional justice system. Story number 2. A young girl from South Central Los Angeles stepping off her very first flight ever and onto the grounds of the Naval Base in Great Lakes, Illinois. She had been raised by her mother and her 4 sisters while her father battled addiction and cycled in and out of prison. This young lady had never been away from home, but she knew she needed something different, a way to break the cycle of violence, poverty, and incarceration that shaped so much of her early life. Many would have seen her as nothing more than just another girl from the hood, but she had determination and she had dreams. Joining the Navy gave her structure, it gave her purpose, and it gave her opportunity. She grew up watching her father get high to escape his demons and then chase her mother into her bedroom with a knife. She grew up watching him steal all of her Christmas and her birthday gifts so that he could sell them and use that money to score his next high. And she grew up finding the best hiding places to stash all of her presents so he wouldn't steal them from her. The young man who had the one bad night and was given the opportunity to participate in NRP was able to confront his addiction, identify the root of his struggles, face them head on, and is now working to become a better version of himself. The father, who also battled addiction, in story number 2, he wasn't so fortunate. His addiction was met with punishment instead of support, addressed through imprisonment instead of the resources he needed to truly heal. When Contra Costa County District Attorney Diana Becton called me into her office back in 2021, she shared a vision, one rooted in healing, community, compassion, accountability. That vision led to NRP. NRP is a restorative justice program for adults who commit nonviolent, low-level misdemeanor offenses. Since the inception of the program, 322 cases have been referred. Of those, 145 have successfully completed the program, with several more awaiting enrollment. And only one person has reoffended. Let that sink in. Just one. That is a less than 1% recidivism rate. NRP is working not because we're easy on crime, but because we approach crime differently. We center accountability, we center the voice of the victim, and we center the humanity of the person who has caused the harm. Restorative justice is not about letting people off the hook. It's about making sure people face the consequences of their actions, but in a way that encourages healing, accountability, and the possibility of change. Restorative justice asks a different set of questions. What happened? What led to it? Who was harmed, and how can that harm be repaired? What resources are needed so this does not happen again? How many of you are parents here? Oh, I'm sorry. Kidding. We parents practice restorative principles every single day without even realizing it. When our kids are bickering and fighting with each other and driving us up the wall, we bring them in, we have conversations, we ask questions, we teach lessons. We don't throw our kids away when they mess up, no matter how much we want to sometimes. We guide them. Let me paint you all a quick picture. A single parent struggling to make ends meet, rent is due, groceries cost more than ever, the kids are hungry, and the fridge is empty. In a moment of desperation, this person steals some canned goods and some dinner rolls from the corner store. Yes, a crime has in fact been committed. But what happens if we put that person in jail? They come out still hungry, still without resources, but now with a criminal record that will likely follow them forever. We've now increased the likelihood that they will have to steal again, not decreased it. NRP offers a different path. Instead of putting that person in jail, we bring them into a restorative circle with trained community safety panelists. The victims have a voice, the communities have a voice, and the person who caused the harm gets to explain, not excuse, their actions. Several things make NRP different. First, victims have a voice. Second, it's led by community volunteers who bring insights into the conversation. It reduces the system's footprint. Courts are overwhelmed. Jails are overcrowded. NRP and programs like it offer a meaningful resolution without clogging the system further. A few weeks ago, I was visiting Chicago for a restorative justice conference and an RJ site visit. And I bring this up only because I was visiting right around the 24th year anniversary of my arrival onto the naval base of Great Lakes, or the naval base in Great Lakes, Illinois. If you haven't figured it out by now, story number 2, I'm the young girl who got caught in the wake of her father's addiction. Visiting that base 24 years later reminds me of why I do this work. The program and the cases I've shared with you all, they're not theoretical for me, they're personal. I've lived them. I know what it means to make a mistake, but I also know what it takes to come back from one. I understand the people that we serve because I've walked in their shoes. I've known shame. I've known struggle. And I've seen addiction in my own family. I've watched loved ones disappear into the system with no lifeline back to the community, home, family, or any sense of normalcy. I've often asked myself, what if somebody had asked my dad why before incarcerating him? That's the essence of restorative justice, is asking the why and not just judging the what. Had we asked him, we would have known that his mother died when he was only 20, that he was left to help raise his younger sister because his father was absent, and that when they went to go live with their aunt and uncle, they were treated as less than in their own family. So he turned to the streets and found comfort and support in all the wrong places. Again, understandable, not excusable. Restorative justice is about breaking cycles that have trapped generations. Let me bring it closer to home and leave you all with this. When you leave here tonight, remember, we're in San Francisco, vibrant, beautiful, exciting, full of traffic. You might go out tonight, have a few drinks, let off some steam, and maybe, just maybe, you make a mistake. Something small, but serious enough to get arrested. And now this thing is on your record. You can't apply for that job. You can't get into that school. You can't even volunteer at your kid's school. One moment, one mistake, and your entire future shifts. If you had told that scared 18-year-old girl, the one seeking to break the cycle, that one day she'd be standing here in front of you all as an advocate for justice, she wouldn't have believed you. She probably would have laughed. But here I am, Janet Wright, Navy veteran, director of a successful restorative justice program in California. Programs like NRP don't just change individuals. They change the system, and they prove time and time again that one mistake should never define a life. Thank you.